Welcome to Homeschooling for Spirituality. The Flow is a delightful mix of insight, divine inspiration, and humor, where wisdom meets earthiness to help your ongoing spiritual growth and transformation. Follow the flow of enlightenment and explore everything spiritual through the deepest self-inquiry, as student Lisa Berry asks Master Spiritual Teacher G.P. Walsh the kinds of questions you would ask an elder, a wise man, or a sage, and receive direct, simple, comprehensive, and deeply human lessons and teachings. From transcending the experience of separation, releasing old conditioned patterns and wounds, and alleviating suffering, to demystifying esoteric practices and revealing one's true purpose and innate freedom. Welcome to the flow of enlightenment. Transformation is all there is.
Well, hello, everyone. We are so happy to be here with all of you right now. It's GP Walsh. Hello, GP. Doing my
yes, I'm still here.
Good. That is wonderful. Well, it's just not a show without you. Well, you know what? I wanted to do a little bit of not a complete format change here, but I wanted to welcome the listeners in today and just do a little twist. Today is called the inner body experience on the flow of enlightenment, and we're being cheeky from the outer body experience here. And GP, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to read out just a few of the questions that have come in that people want to ask about and know about, so that any of the listeners can go, yeah, I want to know that too, or and then GP, I'm going to ask just a firecracker question to you right after it. So,
okay, so I never know what's coming.
I know, it's like a surprise. You got to be on your toes on Tuesdays. That's what we're going to call on your toes on Tuesdays.
Tuesday toes.
All right. Well, we have titled this, everyone, the inner body experience. And some of the questions that came up or statements that were made that would, like to be have GP go through and stuff were, they're a better person out there. So when we're thinking about the outer body experience, why are we seeking them? Why do we want to have them so much? And some things, statements are like, I'm a better person out there. Information is revealed so I can better understand this inner life. They have a better life because the info and clarity they receive when they have an outer body and they're wanting one. They feel they have more access to their brain, access more of the brain, sorry. They feel they can connect and anchor into our, so there it was. Okay. This was a biggie. Some people feel that when they're having that outer body experience, they feel that they can anchor into it and know it exists, so they're not so afraid of dying and losing what they have here in this world, in whatever you want to call it. They like outer body experiences because they feel they connect with other energy, including past lives and other people. And a little bit of a sad one here that hurt my heart a little bit was they feel that they can heal themselves in the outer body experience, but not here in this inner experience. And that leads me to my question, GP, about you, because I want to. You have a story that you call The Night on the Bridge, and would you classify that as an outer body experience? And is it? And in your answer there, can you share with us what it was, if it wasn't, and how that impacted your life?
Well, it appears as something that was like out of body, but in fact, it took me directly to the center of myself, right? And the center of myself. Now, spiritually speaking, right? Many different traditions talk about transcending the body, right? Which is not the same as exiting. Okay? The body does need to be transcended, but not the body itself, what we believe it to be.
Okay.
I mean, that's the key. We suffer from our false beliefs. Period. End of story. So what I believe about the body, I'm actually saddled with. And most people feel that the body is a burden, right? that it's a struggle, especially if you're having some kind of physical problem in the leg, or you're afraid. My night on the bridge was to make a a very long story, very short, because this is only an hour show with commercials. Just at the end of my rope, at 19 years old, just hating myself, hating my life, hating everything about me. That night on the bridge, it wasn't, people, he's going to kill himself. Well, I wanted to die, but it was just a walking bridge. I would have just gotten wet. Right?
Oh, yeah. Sprained an ankle.
I would have been embarrassed, basically, because the river I was staring into was terribly polluted. I would have just smelled horrible, and which would really have added to my state, right? Because I was completely lost. I hated life. I hated myself. I hated everything. And prior to that, I'd been doing a lot of drugs, and I found myself in a position. I was sitting in a place getting high like I always did, and my whole body froze up and paralyzed. I couldn't move. The only thing that would move were my eyes. I couldn't even feel it. My heart was pounding. My throat had closed down to the point where I was wheezing, and I was really thinking I was going to die. And there was an enormous relief about it. I was saying, finally, because I'd just been suffering endlessly for my whole life, just the nature of my home life, and it was just my mother was mentally ill, and so it kind of loomed over the house of this dark cloud. I just never felt loved. I never felt accepted. I was told that. I was told I was a guest. I wasn't. I mean, there wasn't even any. It wasn't even subtle. I didn't even have to read the energy. I mean, it was just overt.
Right.
And so, in that moment, all of a sudden, without any input on my part, my body just got up, walked out the door, and started to walk. I was completely on autopilot. I had no idea what was happening. I had no idea where I was going. I had no control. Walked for about 30 or 40 minutes, and suddenly stopped, turned right, and there I was standing on this bridge, looking down into this incredibly polluted river. A river which had been one of the most clean and pristine rivers in the country was basically a dead cesspool. This was 1971. The EPA had just been started in order to clean up the sheer quantity of environmental destruction that had been done up to that time. And in that moment, I just started to just rant and rave about how horrible everything was, and how people were destroying everything. And just saying, and I did the same thing. I took this innocent kid, promising kid, and I completely ruined him. Just completely filled with guilt and shame, and I wanted to die. And at that moment, there was just this very loud voice that said, "Look closer." And it was so loud, and it was so, had carried so much authority that I just said, I stopped. It stopped me in my tracks. And I sat there looking down at this polluted river. And I said, look at what? Can you hear me? It's suddenly gotten very quiet. Can everybody hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, okay. Because all of a sudden it got dead quiet. And
it was theatrical effect.
Theatrical effect. Yeah, there it is. The music has stopped. It's about to, the violin's about to swell. So anyway, I said there, okay, look at what? I'm staring into this, this ugly cesspool. And the voice says, look closer. Look really close. It was very insistent. And so I just stared. All of my energy just went into staring into this river. And I, like Alice in Wonderland, I suddenly started to shrink. And I got smaller and smaller and smaller. Everything around me started getting huge. Until after a few moments, I was just suspended. I was floating in space. And all around me, I could see the molecules of the river. I was in the river, but I was so small that I was looking at it at a molecular level. And the voice said, look at the water. And I looked at the water. It's beautiful, pristine, lovely, H2O, right? Just clean and spotless. And it says, now look at the pollution. And I looked at the pollution. It was kind of ugly, distorted, right? And it clearly, the difference was clearly obvious. And the voice says, look at the water, the pollution, They're not touching, are they? I said, no, they're not. He says that the water, they haven't bonded. In fact, there's a lot of space in between, isn't there? And I said, yeah, there is. And then the boy said, if you were to find a way to separate those two, you would have the same original pure water you always did, wouldn't you? And I was stunned. It's like, yeah, it'd be the same water. And then the boy said, Big, that's you.
Beautiful. It's pure love.
I've been telling that story for 50 years, and I still can't tell it without breaking up. Suddenly it was like top of my head had been torn off, and there was just nothing but light everywhere.
Oh.
And within a few moments, I was standing there back on the bridge. I'm in a total daze. And my body is completely back to normal. All the effects of all of the drugs I've been doing was gone. And for the very first time I could think of in my life, I actually felt loved.
By yourself or by another?
Just loved. I can't pinpoint it. It was just love. It wasn't personal. It wasn't like, somebody likes you. it was otherworldly.
Right.
And within a couple months, every bad habit I had just fallen away. I was back in school. I was getting A's, and I couldn't stay in school. I dropped out. I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't do anything. I was totally dysfunctional. Suddenly, everything starts working. And needless to say, it set me on the path that led me here to what I do now, because that perception of what I now call original innocence, that the real you, which has never been touched by any of the pollutants being the acquired habits and beliefs and ideas and assumptions and conditioning and programming and all of the stuff that ends up kind of just twisting us into a little ball, cutting us off from ourselves, disconnecting you from your soul. And so, was that an out-of-body experience? Well, in one sense, yes, right? And that I was completely transported out of the world as I knew it, and taken to a place that is far deeper and far more profound, in which I rediscovered my own original innocence. Which, 50 years later since that time, I can't look at anybody without seeing it. It's just there. It took me a long time to understand the nature of conditioning and all these. I mean, this is 1971, right? Course in Miracles hadn't been written. There was no, the psychology. There was a shelf in the bookstore with the psychology books on it. There was no self-help, right? Nobody knew who Wayne Dyer or Deepak Chopra was, there was, I was kind of on my own, and I had no idea what had happened. I had no idea what all this stuff was, but the voice said, if you can find a way to separate the two. So that's what I started trying to do. And it took a long time, decades actually, to come to understand it. So was that an out-of-body experience? The reason I emphasize the into body experience is that in the beginning of my spiritual growth, because obviously this put my feet on the spiritual path, something mystical had happened, and I needed to understand what it was. And after many, many decades of trying different kinds of traditions and trying to transcend the body, and I lived like a monk for years, just complete in deprivation, and right, not taking, the body was something to be gotten rid of, to transcend it, and there's still many spiritual traditions that believe that way. Buddha believed that way, until he saw that it was nonsense. I wish I had known that in 1971. He was a total ascetic for 6 years until he realized that was not the way, and that's what led to the middle way in his own enlightenment. But what I discovered is that all the effort of trying to get out of the body was actually a denial of myself. It was a denial of who I was. It was trying to take the conditioning and make it this horrible thing, make the body a horrible thing. It's just original sin in the back door, right? That somehow I'm supposed to get rid of all this stuff and these human desires and the like. And what I ended up discovering is that it never got me anywhere, and I started to begin to turn inward. And by inward, I started with the body. Rather than reject it, I started looking at it for what it actually was, this field of energy. And so I went inward rather than outward, trying to discover, because somewhere in there was me, the original innocence. And I had to recover the relationship with the body, with human life, to integrate the two so that they weren't opposed to one another. Which is where I finally discovered the ultimate oneness, is that the body, the mind, the soul, that they're all one. We are one unified whole. The body just being one aspect of it. And so what I found is the quickest way for people to come to a sense of their own self-acceptance is through the body. And that's what I've been doing ever since, and it works.
That is fascinating and perfect timing. It's like you're embodying the clock here, because the commercial, but that is a beautiful, beautiful piece to help. I feel like it's given people hope to say, wow, they spend so much time taking, whether it's prescription drugs or it doesn't matter, anything to get themselves out of the body, but really it's about integrating and finding the way back inwards. So when we come back, there's so many questions that were perfect in there, and yes, let's dive in more deeply. Dive in more deeply into the in-body experience.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me the Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Touch, move, and inspire. Sharing your story of how you overcame your deepest struggle will serve as someone else's survival guide. You are ready to get the book out of your head and onto the page. I'm Jocelyn Bellows, host of Breakdown to Wake Up, a live stream show dedicated to sharing personal journeys of men and women who have traversed through mazes of uncertainty, dark clouds, and dishonoring themselves, and the lessons they have learned along this path of what one can accomplish in our own self-discovery. And as a writing and life coach, I work with men and women to break through the BS of their lives to find their own voice and leaping into a life they love. It is my belief that when we share our stories of how we overcame what we have been through, it will serve as someone else's survival guide. So if you're ready to get the book out of your head and onto the page, I'd love to hear from you. Go to www.jocelynbellows.com and join me every Tuesday at noon Eastern and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern.
If I could be you,
and you could be me for just 1 hour,
if you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind,
walk a mile in my shoes,
walk a mile in my shoes,
walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out, and for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being with us here on the Flow of Enlightenment. GP Walsh and Lisa Berry. And GP, for the first time on our show, you got to, squeeze the juice out of that story, which you refer to as the Night on the Bridge. So thank you for that. And
you kind of forced me to do it.
I did. I put you right on the spot there, on the toes Tuesday. And what I loved was at the conclusion of this one, anyways, you said, you found out what the body truly is. And then you said, because the body is truly a field of energy. And it's so interesting because when you think of people who would like to have an out-of-body experience, an out-of-body experience, they think they're going into the field of energy. They think they're not in one when they're just in their body and they're conscious and, drinking tea and doing their stuff. But how can we even begin to recognize, the inner body experience is to know that the body's a field of energy. How does that even begin?
Well, it begins through, inquiry. I mean, the point of inquiry, of self-inquiry, is to break down the illusions, our assumptions about what things are, and discover what they actually are. Mm-hmm. It's very simple in a meditation if you put your attention in your body with your eyes closed.
Yes.
And just feel it. You'll notice that it's this constant flow of energy. With your eyes, now when you feel something, you feel your body, because we're so used to being in the mind, and the mind is dominated by sight, by form, that you feel your body, and simultaneously you've got a picture of your body in your mind.
Yes.
And so the direct experience of your body as this field of energy, which is obvious when you feel it, gets obscured by the illusion of the mind, which sees everything in terms of form. It just sees it in terms of sight. It doesn't see it in terms of what it feels like.
Right.
But if you feel it, you notice that it's never static. It's a constant flow. Your body's not wooden, right, or a rock. It's this flow. And because it is a flow, right, the flow gives the appearance of it being a particular form and having a particular solidity to it. But in fact, there isn't any. It is just a constant flow of energy. Mm. And so the body isn't a thing, which means it's not stuck as anything. It isn't limited at all. We only think it is. And because we think it is, that's what we experience. We contract ourselves to conform to our thinking. And then wanting to get the out-of-body experience, what we're really trying to get out of is our own thinking.
Yes.
We're trying to get out of our false beliefs about it. And one way we do that is we have bigger experiences, like an out-of-body experience, or a psychedelic journey or something like that, which takes you to a different place. But basically, underneath, unfortunately, is still this idea of the body somehow being insignificant and mundane, and the mission is to get out of it. Which means that when I'm on my journey or having an out of body experience, then life is great, and now I got to do the laundry, right? Which sucks,
right?
Right, but that's the nature, the true nature of awakening, is when it all integrates, and the miraculous mystery of life is always not some special experience, but right now. Everybody right now, sitting here listening to us. It's a miracle. It's miraculous.
That is so. It is. That is so. Okay, so this is where I guess ego really does sneak in, and culture and just people. How we socialize is. We might see monks who really take that to which we would call to an extreme, and they never leave their property or their place. That they sit for hours and this, and we might think, gosh, what a boring life being stuck there in that place and never getting to see the world, or we think it's limited, like we think it's restricted, we think it's boring or mundane, but really, I guess they're just having a good old time in there. They're
Well, yeah, they are fulfilling, and a lot of the a lot of the actions of the monks are just as limited, right?
Right.
I mean, the way to... there's no particular discipline or process or practice you can do that will guarantee you wake up to who you are. Because the awakening has nothing to do... It can't be the result of something. If it's the result of a process, then it is dependent upon that process, and like everything else, it'll come and go. It'll be impermanent. So if it's really true, it's got to be true forever. So it's a discovery of what you've always been. It is not some revelation, right, in the sense that it is a transformation that takes place. Right? It is the recognition that this has always been the truth, and it has been obscured by our false beliefs. And the mother of all false beliefs is the ego. That's all it is a false belief. Believing myself to be somebody other than I am. That's all there is to the ego.
Yes. With the ego, so it's ego, or back to ego, geez. Back to ego. Back to the ego. It's when we, inner, outer, experiences and people really truly. So, but you're not saying it's wrong or bad, to have an out of body experience, whether it's through psychedelics or journeying or imagining it. But it's not the goal. It's not the out. It's not to use to fix.
It won't lead you to the truth. It'll be a nice experience, but it won't lead you to the truth, because the truth is about you.
It won't lead you to the truth.
The truth is about you. And no, it's absolutely true that people have those kinds of experiences. They lose their fear of death.
Yes.
People have near-death experiences, or a journey on some spirit plant medicine, or an out-of-body experience. I have no issue with those at all. They do open doors, right? But they don't reveal the truth.
And
if they were the truth,
difference.
they wouldn't come and go. But it's just an experience. Now, experiences obviously are transformative, right? They can be traumatic and scar you for life, or they can transform you and liberate you, right? But none of them are true. None of them are the truth. Who are you? Who's the one having the experience?
So was your night on the bridge not true? Oh, sorry, am I saying that right? Because it came and went, or
if I looked to that as an experience, and at first, it's very natural. I've had plenty of spiritual experiences, and then wanted to hold on to them.
Right. Yeah.
Chasing the bliss. Yeah. Thinking ignorantly in the beginning that it was the peak experience that was the truth.
Yes. Oh my gosh, you nailed that one. How I feel. Right. Yes.
Yes, that's what people feel like, of course. And if my whole life feels rather drab and mundane when I have that peak experience, I do touch into the dynamism and the incredible bliss of life, right? But the true bliss is not an emotional experience. It is the reality of your being, which is not something that comes and goes. And so discovering that which does not come and go means being willing to pass on all experiences that do. As wonderful as they are, right? As beautiful as they are, they're not the truth. As beautiful as my experience was, it pointed me to the truth. It wasn't the truth.
Oh, okay.
It pointed me in the direction. It showed me there is an original innocence in you. Now I had to find it. I had to locate it. I had to separate. I had to find out what was really me, the pure water, and what wasn't.
You became the true seeker.
I became a genuine seeker, of the actual truth within.
Oh, wow. Okay. And that's, just to share with all the listeners, student Lisa showing up here. That actually, I love how you wrapped that up, because I had an experience, and I guess you call it eyes opening or bliss, or that feeling. And then I wanted it back. I wanted to go there again. I wanted to find, but you nailed it. It wasn't any of that. It really was that I was now pointed in the direction, and then I became a seeker going, wow, did that really, is there really more? Is that who I am? And and who am I in that? Is that a good question to ask? Who am I in that experience?
Well, the question is always, who am I? And the experiences, they can be horrible. What's that? You lose somebody you love. Somebody breaks up with you or cheats on you or something, right?
Right.
That's not a blissful experience.
No.
Yet the experiencer of bliss and the experiencer of that are the same. That's who you want to get to. The one who's there all the time. Not the one who's coming and going, but what's there all the time. Well, you are.
Okay. Is a good question then to... okay, so we can say, who am I? Is a helpful question, who's there all the time?
Well, yeah, you can, yes. Remember your life when you were 10 or when you were 20 or when you were 5 or you're 35 or however old you are, right? At different times of your life, the content of your life, the experiences, right? Well, they were very different. None of them are here now, right?
Right.
Your interests aren't the same. Your desires aren't the same. The things that engage aren't the same. But your bliss isn't the same. But looking at all those times, isn't there something that was the same? Something that the experiencing itself, the consciousness that was having the experience, is that any different?
Are you aware of the who you were from when you were 17 to now?
Yeah.
You are.
Because anybody can. Anybody. It's not that big a deal.
Right.
Because the fact of your experiencing has remained unchanged.
Okay.
The point of cognition has remained unchanged. That which has been cognized has never stopped changing. But the one cognizing has never ever moved.
Right.
The experience has been identical. The sense I am has never ever fluctuated.
I love that you use the word content. That word grabbed me this morning during listening to something, and I thought, yeah, like we talk about, do you have a lot of content circulating around, or, like we think that because what we've created, we've written a book, we've done whatever, right? We have content, the stories, but every person has ever changing content every day.
Yes.
It's new, added, removed, deleted, packed away.
The person changes every day.
Yes.
The sense of self, the ego, it's not constant. It's forever changing.
Right. Yes. And so we can't be grasping onto that because which is good and not good and bad, but it can be either. You could go, okay, I like this ego characteristic. Let's keep this one forever, but it might not actually serve us.
Right. Yeah. And of course, the thing you want today, you're selling on eBay tomorrow.
Right.
Because nothing in the phenomenal world is constant. It's forever changing. And we suffer because we try to make the impermanent permanent. We think that somehow I'm going to be somebody and then it's going to be static. Or I'm going to get the right job and it's going to be permanent. I'm going to get enough money, it'll be permanent. I get the right relationship, it'll be permanent.
Yeah.
Look around. There's no such thing as permanence in the world. So where's permanence? Is there such a thing? Is it even possible? And if I'm going to be happy, should I anchor it in that which is changing, or do I need to anchor happiness in that which is permanent?
So truth is the only thing that's permanent.
The only thing that's permanent is truth. And that is what you are, the truth of you.
And with that, do people, okay, so I love that you said anchor, you're anchoring. If you're going to anchor to something, you anchor to something that's not, changing, which would be the truth. Are the people who have out of body experiences, are they finding that truth because they are anchored? No, wait, hold on, let me say this differently. A psychic, somebody who's doing channeling, doing some readings, and they go into another quote unquote state. So let's call that they're going into an out of body type experience to be able to bring in information, let's say, to others who are looking for it. Is that the truth? Is it their truth, or can we tap into other people's truths and be anchored?
Well, if you're talking about it in terms of psychic stuff.
Well, that was just my example, yeah.
I mean, well, the answer is, of course, yes. And the only reason that seems mystical is because we believe we're separate. We're not actually separate. That's an illusion. And so, when suddenly you feel what somebody's feeling, you know somebody's going to call, and right, because we're so used to thinking of ourselves as the body, and that there's this space in between us. We don't realize that the body is a field of energy. It is a, and the field of energy is universal and the essence of all things. So, the tree I'm looking outside my window and my hand, which I'm holding up in front of me, are made of exactly the same thing. In the same field. It is condensed as a hand here, it is condensed as a tree over there. But in fact, it is the same entity. It is the same essence. There's no disconnection whatsoever. The tree is me.
Right.
And the tree can say that about me.
Yes, and it could, and it very well could be. We're not listening. I have to share this thing is when you said that we think of ourselves as the body and not of and so here and I thought, okay, for a field of energy, and I have to share this quick story is that I was married to a blind man, and I, put on my makeup. I put my eyebrows on and paint my eyeliner and all this stuff, and at one point he said, "Oh, well, do you want to go for a walk?" I was like, "Oh, well, I've got to put my eyebrows on." And he just broke out laughing hysterically. And I thought, what the heck is he laughing? He goes, "Well, I've never pictured you with eyebrows before." I was like, "What? You've been picturing me without eyebrows all this time?" And to me, it was just like, how horrible. I was like, God, here I am, so worried about, putting my earrings on or whatnot. And and then it dawned on me that, yes, we experience that we think, what we think we see in the mirror or what we look like or what we put on, we think that is it. That's us. But everybody sees us differently. And that was such an awakening moment for me.
And nobody sees you correctly, including you.
Right. Yes.
Nobody sees you as you actually are. Right?
Yes.
You can't see yourself as you actually are. You can only know yourself as you actually are. And
that's the goal.
Because what is perceived is forever shifting. But what is doing the perceiving never shifts. But it can't be perceived. You can't know yourself as a thing because you're not a thing. I am not this particular condensation of energy in this particular form, or the tree. I am the energy that is condensed in everything. That's the true I. And so the experience people have of, reading somebody else's thoughts or channeling, right, it is only the way it's perceived, right? This idea that somehow there's some source of information out there that's not me is an illusion. It is you. Not you personally, but the universal intelligence that's everywhere. And because of our belief system, I will allow that intelligence in. And it comes in the form of a book, or it comes in the form of a guru, or it comes in the form of somebody channeling, or a fifth dimensional being. That's what we believe it to be, but that's not what it is. But right. That belief is open enough that it allows the intelligence to penetrate and get to us. But the guru, even the guru you're talking to, sorry about that, even the guru you're talking about is a person that appears to be a person in front of you, isn't. They'll tell you that. I am only you, the truth of you, appearing in a form that you'll accept.
That you'll accept. And on that is beautiful. Let's go to commercial on that one, but I like that. It's in the form that you'll accept. Oh my gosh. Okay, that was a good one. I can't wait. Okay, come on back, guys, to the flow of enlightenment.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Coping 19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
If you're feeling increasingly lonely right now, you're not alone. It's totally normal. Even though we may not be able to get together in person, connecting virtually with friends and family still gives you a chance to interact with people and may help raise your spirits. Join a virtual book club, set up group text chats, or online video coffee breaks with coworkers.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Oh, well, this is already, like you said, going deep, and it's fun, but it's helpful. And, I'm reading back through a couple of the statements that, or questions and things that people have shared, what they believe, GP. And what you left us with there just before the commercial was that about we will accept in a form that you'll accept. So when we truly are seeing something or allowing something, we're only allowing in a form that we will accept. And I'm going to go into some of those questions that came in. If we are desiring an out-of-body experience, if we're hungry for it, we need it, we're dependent, we're relying on it, we want it, right? Is that because we're denying the form, like we're not accepting the form that we are? Or we don't know the form that we are to accept it. So we want to go to another place.
If we get really fixated on it showing up in one way, you really kind of narrow the whole field down, don't you? Right? Yes. It's kind of like, making your the perfect man, right? And you describe him down, he's got a mole on the left side of his chin, and he's got, every little detail. It's like, geez, give me a little room, Right. Give me a little room to deliver on the goods. But we tend to do that. But what that really expresses is how narrow our minds have become. That if it doesn't show up in a particular way, we can't recognize it. We're not recognizing the energetic signature. We're only looking at the form. And this is what a lot of people do. It's got to look like this, right? Yes. And if it doesn't look like that, but in my life, all the things I've wanted, the things that have really fulfilled me, have never shown up the way I thought they would. Never.
Yes.
Not once.
Oh my gosh.
You hear that occasional story of somebody had something on their vision board, and the very house, right, was the one that they ended up buying, and that sort of thing. But first off, I'm not sure I really believe it. But if it did happen, it's very, very rare, because it's not really the thing you're looking for. Mm-hmm. It's the experience of freedom. It's the experience of being loved. It's the experience of being happy. You are looking for an energetic state.
Oh my gosh.
Not an actual thing. The thing is irrelevant. Right?
GP, this is freaking me right out. So I've not done the vision boards very well in my life anyways, because sometimes I go, well, I don't know what it really looks like. I know how it feels. So I had rented this house, and I got in the house and moved in, and I lived there, and I was living, and I was laying on the floor, and I was like, this feeling. This is the feeling that I would want from my dream home, let's call it, my dream life. Mm-hmm. And I think I just was making up a story, because I was like, yes, I must have wanted the sunroom. I must have wanted this cream-colored couch, and I must have wanted, this kitchen. But now that you say that, I was recognizing the energetic pattern, the feeling that I would allow. And really nothing to do. It wasn't my dream home, but I was recognizing am I on the right path there?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it was you recognize the energetic signature. But the signer is always love. The signature is different all the time, but the one signing is always universal infinite love, which is the only true consciousness. And so it showed up in a way that you could grasp it, that you could experience it, and recognize it as such. Now, if you attribute that back to its source, you've completed the circuit. And
okay,
what
does that mean?
Well, what it means is that your attention is off of the appearance and it's onto the substance of it.
Yes.
It's off of heaven and it's onto God.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this would be corrected if I now attached it to not the correct source, but the house itself. When I had to move, which I went through that, I attached it to the house and I was devastated thinking I was losing that feeling by leaving the house.
I thought it was the house. It's not the house.
Yeah.
It's not the house.
This is good.
You can't lose the source, right? But the form is going to come and go. It's constantly coming and going. The form has no substance. Remember, it's a flow. It's not a thing. So it's going to change. And the sense of what we want and like, that's going to change. Suddenly this house isn't there. It doesn't fit anymore because you are not the same anymore. You're someone else now. Right? But if we understand that the source of all things remains constant, and our hearts are anchored there, right, then the shifting changes of life, no matter what it brings to you, will have zero effect. It will be like clouds passing through the sky, not leaving a trace.
So yeah, the in-body experience is literally having it's in you. It's not, it's just not, you're not going out to find out, I'm going to go out of my body, so to speak, outside to find out where I need to come inside. Just, you got to keep looking around inside.
Well, right. And, when I say inside, right, people, you say that and you point to your chest, usually people point to their heart, right?
Yeah.
It's not in the body, right? The body is in you, right? What we're looking for is you. The one having the experience, the one who felt like they left the body. The truth is, you were never in it in the first place.
That's the big message. You were never, and I actually did just hit my chest when I said inward too, so I'm laughing. That's like you saw me, which you did, right? Film me. But we were never in the body. Oh, I might have to get you to go on that one just to bring this home for everybody.
Well, it is simply the way. Look, you have a dream at night. You have a completely different body.
Right.
I've had different bodies. I've had different bodies with both genders look down at myself and go, oh. We're all here.
Right.
It's like, okay, right? And in the dream, I feel like I'm in that body, right?
Right.
But it is a perceptual distortion. It's simply the way the senses work, right? Because you have to have a point of reference in order to see anything. And so that point of reference becomes this sense of being localized, and then we identify it with the body, which creates the world. Right? You're not in the body. The body is in you. It's a function of consciousness. You're not in anything. You're not limited by anything. You don't have a form. You are the infinite field, right? You are the formless one, which means you are without dimension. You don't live in space or time. So you can't even think of yourself as infinitely big. There's no dimensions whatsoever to consciousness. Dimensions appear, space and time appear to in form. Without form, there's neither. But that which is aware of it is not in it, any more than Mozart got into one of his songs and never came out, right? It's expressive of Mozart. You can see his signature in all his pieces of music, but he's not stuck in there.
Right. Oh, I see what you mean there. He's in it.
So he's reflected in it, but he is not in it. So the divine love, the divine truth, the reality of your being is reflected in everything, but is not confined or outlined by any of it. If it was, the infinite wouldn't be infinite.
Right. That's why we truly actually we cannot have an out-of-body experience, nor an in-the-body experience in that sense.
Exactly. No, you got it. Those are only appearances.
Right. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
You leave your body every night.
Yeah, exactly. That was one of the questions, right? About dreaming. Like, is dreaming? But it's now we just smashed it. Like, I can't even say out of body experience anymore because now it doesn't even exist to me. Right now.
Right.
Exactly. I just love that. I love that.
And the only reason people say, "Well, am I really in another world?" is because they think they're stuck in this one.
Right.
This one is simply the one we've all agreed to by convention, and we think this is kind of our reference point. And these other ones being these other weird experiences. But if the other one was common, look, if every night when you fell asleep, and if your dream picked up at the same place it left off the night before, you would not be able to tell the difference. Which one's real? This one has continuity. It's the only difference between the waking dream and the sleeping dream is a sense of continuity.
I just said that the other day. That's so weird that you said that, but it's not. It's not because I thought, well, they're both probably real. Like, you just if just that this one, if this, like you and I talking right now, was a dream, maybe it is. Who knows? I don't know. But if it was, then it's what we perceive as real. So just like when we go into our dream, do we perceive it as real when when we're in the dream, we don't think we think we're there. Right.
That's right. There's those rare occasions of lucid dreaming when you realize you're dreaming.
Yes.
Right? That happens occasionally. But for the most part, when we're in the dream, it's real. I'm really there. I'm really having an experience.
Yes.
Pleasurable or painful, right? I really get afraid, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really get turned on. I mean, the entire experience, even though your body isn't feeling anything, right? It's completely cut off from being able to do that. You're still having all the experiences of a body.
Yes. Yes. Which is so neat to. Is there just because we have just 3 more minutes here, something that people can practice? You've done this with me and with your students when you lead them into, I'll call it meditation, and maybe it is, but you actually just have us close our eyes and become aware of what the left knee feels like, and then your right ear, and kind of bounce around. Is that a good practice with self-inquiry?
Well, it's a way of the whole point of it is to begin to create a little distance between what you are experiencing and the one who is experiencing. So you can put your attention on your hand, and in your hand you'll notice that when you're not thinking about it, right? Even the word hand, just the pure tactile experience of it, right, or the kinesthetic sense of it, has a particular energy about it, which is not the same as your knee. You can tell the difference without looking.
Yes. You
can just feel the difference. And you can scan your entire body that way. And what that does is clue us in to the body not being a thing, but being this really ever-shifting flow of energy. But then the inquiry part of it is when I bring attention further back to notice that which is noticing it. And is that shifting? And you go, my God, it isn't. That which is aware of the knee, aware of the foot, aware of the hand, isn't changing. It's not a flow of energy.
Right.
It is something else altogether.
Right.
Consciousness is not the result of something else. It is the primary essence. Consciousness is God.
That's absolutely beautiful. That right there just makes, I don't know, it just makes me happy, and I'm hoping that all the listeners are feeling that way. And I would love to hear from you guys. We both would love to hear from you, but I must please invite everybody to not only GP's website, because right there, guys, this is so good. This stuff is so helpful. I don't even know. It feels like it's the answer to everything, which it is, because it's the truth. And then we know that the truth is it doesn't have to be.
What else could be the answer to everything if it wasn't the truth?
Right. Yes. And you guys, you can hear me as I go through every Tuesday. I get my ahas and I got my questions, and just when I think I got it, I got more. So we are always welcoming you to just come to the website and poke around and pick up some things and listen and learn. There's lots of free stuff there. It is gpwalsh.com. It's super easy to get to and go there. And there's, just begin even by just checking out the website. Something's going to catch your attention because it's what you're allowing at that time, what energy you're aligning with. So GP, I would just make that huge invitation to everybody. Come on over to the website. And if you would like to even, interact, join the Facebook group. It's GP Walsh Spiritual Group. It is a private group, and you get goodies there as well. But, tune to us every Tuesday here at 1 p.m. Eastern for the Flow of Enlightenment, where I get to ask GP all kinds of questions. GP, thank you so much for helping us. Ask who we are.
Thanks, Lisa.
Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week, and pop on over to gpwalsh.com.